With Halleck elevated to general-in-chief in Washington, Grant stepped into the role of field commander on the Western Front, but their relationship, complicated and often strained, continued to shape events from a distance. In late 1862, a new challenge emerged that unexpectedly brought the two men into alignment. Political General John A. McClernand, an ambitious Illinois officer and close Lincoln confidant, lobbied to lead an independent expedition to capture Vicksburg, Mississippi, the last major Confederate stronghold on the Mississippi River. President Lincoln and Secretary Stanton, without consulting Halleck, gave McClernand permission to raise troops in the Midwest for this mission. The move threatened to bypass Grant's authority in his own theater and undermined Halleck's control from Washington. Both men bristled. Halleck, a stickler for military protocol, was insulted that a subordinate had gone directly to the president. Grant, for his part, did not welcome the idea of a rival general siphoning off troops for a separate campaign. So began what one historian called an unofficial alliance between Grant and Halleck, an alliance born not from friendship but from mutual self-interest. As that same historian wrote, Halleck disliked Grant, but he disliked McClernand going over his head even more. Halleck quickly moved to reassert control over the Vicksburg operation. He emphasized that Stanton's orders still left any Western expedition under the general-in-chief's authority, meaning Halleck could assign command as he saw fit. The new troops McClernand raised would belong to Halleck and Grant, not to McClernand personally. Empowered by this interpretation, Grant acted quickly. In November 1862, he wrote Halleck, asking if he was expected to lie still while McClernand assembled his force, or whether he could take initiative. Halleck's reply came with rare clarity. You have command of all troops sent to your department and have permission to fight the enemy where you please. That green light gave Grant the confidence to launch a two-pronged offensive toward Vicksburg. In December, he sent General Sherman with a large force downriver from Memphis, while he himself advanced overland through Mississippi. By acting first, they ensured McClernand would not take control of the campaign. But their early efforts failed. At the end of December, Sherman's troops were repulsed at the Battle of Chickasaw Bayou. When McClernand finally arrived, he briefly took command and diverted the Union force to capture Arkansas Post, far off from Vicksburg. The move infuriated Grant, who called it a wild goose chase. Halleck agreed. In early 1863, he authorized Grant to remove McClernand from independent command if necessary, and to take charge of the entire expedition. Grant did just that, reducing McClernand to a corps commander and eliminating a troublesome rival. That winter, Grant struggled to find a way into Vicksburg. He dug canals, sent expeditions through swamps, and faced constant setbacks. By March, frustration boiled over in the North. Some in Lincoln's cabinet wanted Grant removed, recycling old rumors that he was drinking, that he was in over his head. But this time, Halleck didn't join the calls for dismissal. And Lincoln famously stood by his general, saying, "I can't spare this man. He fights." Grant now had the time he needed to craft a daring plan. In April 1863, he moved his army down the west bank of the Mississippi. Under cover of night, he floated gunboats and transports past Vicksburg's guns, then ferried his troops across the river south of the city. It was a bold gamble, cutting himself off from supply lines to strike at the enemy's rear. It was exactly the kind of risk Halleck's cautious nature usually opposed. But by then, communications were so slow that Halleck had little say. By the time word reached Washington, Grant's plan was already in motion. What followed was a campaign of brilliance. Grant's army marched inland, won a series of sharp battles, and by July 4, 1863, forced the surrender of Vicksburg. The victory split the Confederacy in two and confirmed Grant as the Union's foremost general. Halleck's support, however reluctant, had made it possible. But after Vicksburg, the balance of power between them shifted for good. Grant now had a record even Halleck couldn't ignore. In the West, his authority was unquestioned.